There we go. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Columbus Day, October 12th edition of OLLI Live. We got a lot to cover today, so I think we'll get right into the program. My name is Bob Carito, by the way, and I'm your host for the day. A little bit of housekeeping. Let's see. Here we go. So a little bit of housekeeping. I think you've seen this quite a few times, but we'll go through it again if I can get it up here. All right, we'll just go with it like that for the moment. So again, the best way for the best quality of sound and video, we recommend you have an Ethernet direct connection of the computer to your screen. If you're using Wi-Fi, we suggest that you turn off all other competing Wi-Fi devices so that the bandwidth that's coming to OLLI Live is maxed out, again, for the best picture and sound. This is a Zoom meeting format, so that the cameras are on, and if you don't want to be seen, you can turn your camera off. Microphones will be muted to minimize distractions, and we are recording this session for posting this session on YouTube, probably later today, most probably tomorrow. And then asking questions, we ask that you use the chat box. We'll try to answer questions more towards the end if you can. If you have a question that's burning away, certainly just let us know, and we'll try to accommodate that. So this program is brought to you more or less by marketing committee volunteers. We do have other committee people involved, so it's really committee volunteers. And I'm just doing the welcoming. We're excited to have Howard Kerner as our guest today, and he will be talking with Eugene. And then we'll put a spotlight on some courses. We're talking about 4 courses. Mike and Karen will do that. And then there's a lot to talk about in social activities and special programs. Bonnie will take care of that, and I will close it out with some announcements that we have. So I think we'll just move directly on to Eugene and Howard. So Eugene, take it away.
Thank you, Bob, and welcome everyone to another edition of OLLI Live. It's great to have you here on this beautiful Columbus Day Monday. I want to welcome our guest instructor today, Howard Kerner. Howard, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start out. Let's start right in. Tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you do your training, and what is your background in terms of your academics and so on?
Oh, academics, yes. I went to the it used to be called the State University of New York at Albany for my, now I think it's just called the University at Albany, for my bachelor's and master's, and then I went on to the University of Virginia to work on my doctorate there.
And we're going to talk a little bit, well, we're going to talk mostly about the courses that you're going to be teaching, but I wanted to look a little bit, at your background. You were at Polk State College, is that right, for quite a while? Oh, yeah. And I looked you up to see what courses you taught, and there was a course that you basically invented called Interpersonal Relationships, and the other big one was Literature of the Holocaust. Absolutely. Talk a little bit about those classes and what your experiences were, because you taught them for an awfully long time.
Oh, I sure did. In fact, the interpersonal relationships course turned out to be the longest running free elective course in the history of the college. I created it in, I think, 1991 because I felt that for the first 20 years or so of my career, students had always come to me with their personal problems, which I considered a great honor because they trusted me. And I thought, well, I wonder if there's a way to, of course, continue to do that, but maybe put together a class in which common issues that come up. They're usually related to self-esteem and or the absence thereof, and relationship issues and family issues. What if I put together a course on that? And then as part of the course, I could say, look, if you want to talk to me individually, please do. You know, you can come to the office, whatever. And it turned out to be such a great need that the first time it was, I offered it, there were 18 students in it, and it hadn't even been advertised yet. So it was, you know, word of mouth, and I thought, oh, I've tapped into a need there. And of course, with the ups and downs of the last 25 years, or more, I kept thinking, well, I'm sure there'll be something where they'll find a reason to get rid of it because it's not, you know, math or science or English. And but they never did. And so because the enrollment was so high all the time, and others attempted to teach it, but they never got off the ground. I think so associated with me and my strange personality that you know, that it was so wonderful, though. I was able to really do good work and help so many students, and I still run into a couple of them from time to time, and they say thank you for my life, which of course it doesn't get any better than that.
That's a wonderful legacy. And literature of the Holocaust, you know, so many people are familiar, certainly now, with Oskar Schindler because of the Spielberg movie, and Raoul Wallenberg, who was actually on a US postage stamp, and maybe they're familiar a little bit with Primo Levi. But talk a little bit about that course. You must have found an awful lot of Holocaust literature that's outside of the known mainstream.
Yes, in fact, the whole course turned out, when I created it, it was with the encouragement of the then president of the college, who said, this was kind of amusing, she said, let's have an evening on campus in which we, or before which we get a book for the faculty to read. Not the students, the faculty. And so somebody suggested the Diary of Anne Frank. And so somebody also remembered that I had written a short biography of her and had had a great deal of background and published many, many articles about the Holocaust and Holocaust literature in particular. So when 75 people showed up for this presentation on Anne Frank, who had never been on the campus, the president very smartly said, we've tapped into something here, and would you create a course on Holocaust literature? And I decided to create something totally unique, which was, and I've never been able to find its equal anywhere, instead of the usual 16 weeks of, you know, the history of it and the sadness of it and the sadism and the horror and whatever, everybody has some sense of that. I thought, what if I devoted the first third of the course to what I called what people have done to other people, to point out this is not a natural disaster, it's not a hurricane, this is something that people got up every morning and decided to do. And they were the best educated people in Europe, and they did it anyway. So that's the Holocaust that most people know, you know, what people did to other people. And then 2/3 of the course I dedicated to what I called what people have done for other people. And that is to focus on the rescuers who nobody has ever heard of, and really give credit to these amazing people who I had researched through the years, and put it together so that, and of course the students were both thrilled and angry, you know, thrilled because they were learning about these people nobody had ever heard of, and angry because they said, why doesn't anyone know this? You know, why don't people know about these people? I talk to people and say, oh, we just learned about so-and-so, never heard of them. You know, and so I came up with kind of a subtopic, or a subtitle actually, to all of the talks I give, which is really, why don't we know the names of the good? We know all about the evildoers, we don't know the names of the good.
Right.
From 2008 until I retired at the end of 2017, every semester that course filled up, and it was wonderful to have that experience, and people decided to do more volunteer work and help neighbors and things, inspired by these rescuers. And the question that I would always ask is, and I still ask it, is if people chose to do good during the most evil time of recent history, what's our excuse today for being so hateful to each other as people? You know, it's not illegal to be nice now.
Right, right. And in a nutshell, then, you've got some interesting classes coming up. I believe I actually already attended the lecture you gave about Muslim rescuers, and you're giving it again, I see, on November 17th. But coming up this week,
Yes.
you've got a class called Wonderful Women Rescuers.
Yes.
And then I believe a week from today is Anne Frank reintroduced. Just
Exactly.
kind of briefly give us a very brief synopsis of what that's going to be about.
Okay, well, the first one, the Wonderful Women Rescuers, of course, as the title suggests, most of the rescuers were women. But if you think back to the 40s or so, and 30s, most women were considered, what do they call them nowadays, arm candy, somebody to be seen and not heard, and certainly nobody that you would expect would risk her life for people she doesn't even know. And yet these 10, I found 10 new rescuers, new to me, rescuers that saved thousands upon thousands of lives and really transcended the restrictions of that time on women. And of course, sadly, are not known, but that's why I try to give them their due in this little course. And then Anne Frank Reintroduced is really an attempt to, because so much new information has come out about her recently, and people think immediately as soon as you hear Anne Frank, oh, I know everything about her, right? She was young and wrote a diary and was killed and all of this. And that's 0.01% of what there is to know about her, such as what kind of person was she really? She's become kind of an icon through the years because she has come to represent all of the 1.5 million children that Hitler murdered. But she also was a person with lots of personality. And so I have videos of some of her old friends talking about her. And we talk about the controversy about who betrayed them. That's still a controversy, which is being resolved through computers and artificial intelligence. So it's fascinating. And then, of course, very few Christian rescuers are even known, let alone Muslim rescuers. But tens of thousands of Jews were saved by Muslim rescuers, and people are always astonished.
Yeah, that really is astonishing, and the names may be unfamiliar, but the stories are really, there's almost a common thread in that sense of people doing something for humanity. They're doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Exactly. And at a time, as I always point out, where everything they did, even the priests and nuns that I presented recently, every one of them, and all of these rescuers that you're seeing and will see, every one of them was a criminal according to the laws of the land of that time. Because in Nazi-occupied Europe, it was illegal to help a persecuted person. If you were discovered, you were killed, your whole family was killed, and the person or people you were helping were killed.
I have to say that when I graduated from college sometime back in the last century, and I went on the grand tour of Europe, one of the things that made the most emotional impact on me in Amsterdam was the visit to the Anne Frank house, the hiding place, and you could stick your head up the ladder and look at this tiny space that this fairly large group of people lived in for several years. And it really, but Anne Frank has become so much of an icon, and a kind of an image rather than a real person. And it sounds like your class is going to really bring her back to life.
Oh, yes. 761 days, by the way, they were in captivity in the attic there. And, and I also focus, wouldn't you know, on the rescuers, the Miep Gies and her friends who managed to do everything they could to prevent the tragedy of what happened August 4th, 1944, when they were all arrested. But there was at least an attempt to rescue them. So.
And the only one who survived was her father, I believe, right?
That's correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who got hold of the diary, which then got published and is now, globally known.
Oh, it's the most published book in the world other than the Bible.
That's amazing.
30 million copies published in 70 different languages.
Well, thank you, Howard. That is really some interesting classes. One this Thursday with the Wonderful Women Rescuers, and then a week from today, the Anne Frank Reintroduced, and you're going to repeat the Muslim Resistors and Rescuers class in Fall 2 on November 17th. And we look forward to all of those classes. And thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing this information with us.
Thank you. I try to make them very uplifting. So again, people are always astonished. They think, oh, I thought, oh God, something about the Holocaust, but it's inspiring and uplifting to know about the good that was done during that period, and hopefully to inspire us to do good in our own world.
Excellent, and a terrific addition to the OLLI arsenal of classes. Thank you so much, Howard.
Dean and Bob and Mary, of course. Thank you so much for your.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Howard.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So time for Michael and Karen. We're going to tell us about a little bit about some of the courses that are coming up in the next week or two. So Michael, Karen?
Okay, I'll get started. A couple of the courses that really caught my eye were the Explore Florida classes. And the first one that I wanted to highlight was the one given by John O'Miller on cabbage palms. And that's going to be Tuesday, October 20th from 1 to 3. And this is really interesting. John O'Miller is a natural historian, and he's going to be giving insight talking about our state tree. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but the cabbage palm is our state tree. And some of you may know it as the sable palm. And what he's going to be doing is discussing the tree's unique approach to growth and the different species of wildlife that make use of this particular palm tree. And as a Floridian, something I remember hearing about growing up, he's going to be talking about that old Florida cracker dish called swamp cabbage. And it's made from the heart of the palm tree. So it should be interesting. And John O'Miller, really has an extensive background as a natural historian. He's an environmental educator. He's the former director of the Environmental Studies program at New College of Florida in Sarasota. And he's an activist, and he has worked for years to try to understand and protect the wild places in Southwest Florida. And apparently the past dozen years, he's been working on chronicling the natural and the cultural history of the cabbage palm. And what he did then is that effort became his master's thesis in the Florida Studies program at USF St. Pete. So an interesting and unique take on Florida studies.
So, Karen,
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school in Daytona Beach growing up in Florida, we always said the state tree was the sable palm.
Mm-hmm.
Is the cabbage palm the preferred term, or did they have the legislature actually declare and change the name? Did you come across that?
I did. I looked it up, and I was under the impression, and he's the expert, I was under the impression that the sable palm was the preferred, but you know, I'm going to leave it to Mr. Miller to confirm that.
All right, I'll save the question.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so Bob, I think we'll go on to the first of my two choices. I seem to go the government politics route with my two choices. Now, I want to point out too that in the printed catalog, for anybody who still uses those, this course was originally listed for Tuesday, the 27th. But in the afternoon, but it obviously has been moved to this Thursday, October 29th. And this isn't the first time that Louis Varelli III, who is a lawyer, has given this course on Supreme Court updates. My thinking is that sometime in October, since the first Monday in October is when the Supreme Court begins its new sessions, and that's just what happened this a week ago. So they are in session, and of course, ironically right now, how timely can you get? This morning, the confirmation hearing started on Judge Barrett, and also they are getting ready to start through their entire docket of courses that they have accepted to be heard. And lawyer Varelli, he is very accomplished. If you haven't heard him speak, I saw his last Supreme Court update course, and it was absolutely excellent. He's extremely well spoken, obviously very bright. He graduated from the University of Penn Law School in 2000, so he's a very accomplished, relatively speaking, young adult lawyer who's written 2 books, including one that's been highly acclaimed for the last few years on the disqualification of the Supreme Court as far as recusal of a justice and what the necessary requirements are for that recusal, and they can't hear that particular case. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about what's coming up, because obviously the judiciary branch is highly in the news, as it should be, and the cases they're going to hear and the decisions that are going to be made are going to have effects on the entire country. So I really don't understand why anybody who's an OLLI member, whether you're a la carte or all access pass, wouldn't want to hear the background information as these courses are going to be coming up during their current term. Yeah, by the way, he's a Stetson professor and he lives in Gulfport.
Yeah, you know, Mike, I thought the same thing when I saw this information on this particular course. I was thinking, with all the news and all the noise we keep hearing, it would be a good course to take just as kind of a reminder of what hot topics,
Exactly.
what's coming up.
And if you want to hear them, we can, if you want to hear him, just to get a feel for him, on YouTube, he was interviewed by Spectrum Bay News 9 a few years ago during the immigration ban during the new Trump administration. They had him on there explaining what was going on. And that it's not a long interview, and it's very educational also.
Okay.
All right, Karen, I think we'll move on to your next one.
Okay. Again, Mike, I'm like you. I wasn't born in Florida, but I was raised here. I came here as a very little girl, so I'm all about Florida. So I have another Explore Florida class, and that is something that I think everybody will find interesting: Cigar City Mafia. And that's Wednesday, October 21st from 10:30 to noon. And it's going to be presented by Scott Deach. Now, I thought this was especially interesting because, having grown up here in Pinellas County, I didn't realize the extent of the organized crime in Tampa. I just never gave it much thought, I guess. So what this author, and he is an author, he's going to be talking about the organized crime in Tampa. And he's going to start out discussing the days of rum running during the Prohibition, and then he's going to go into the era of blood, where gangsters actually fought for control of the gambling rackets, which apparently was very lucrative. And some of the crime bosses he's going to be discussing, and I talked to my friends about this, and they recognize some of these names, some of my Floridian friends. Charlie Wall, known as the White Shadow, Ignacio Antinori, and he apparently was an early narcotics gang leader and mafia figure, and of course, a name we're familiar with, Santo Trafficante Jr., and he led the Tampa Mafia apparently for over 30 years. Now, as I mentioned, Mr. Deach is an author, and his specialty is in organized crime in the Mafia. So I looked him up, and he has written several books and over 50 articles that have to do with organized crimes, and he's written these for local and national magazines and newspapers. He's also been featured on the History Channel, A&E, Discovery, and that's just to name a few. There were other channels as well. As I looked him up and read more about him, I did find a couple of book titles that I wanted to bring up that he has written, and he'll probably be telling more. But one of them was Cigar City Mafia, A Complete History of the Tampa Underworld. And his latest book is Garden State Gangland, The Rise of the Mob in New Jersey. So this is a man with a lot of interesting information about the Mafia. And I wanted to mention too, he's also appeared on dozens of local and national news news shows and radio programs. So he has a lot to offer for this topic.
Absolutely. Mike? Yeah. You know, again, everybody thinks of the Godfather book and the movies and New York City, and certainly being the center of so many things in the United States. You think New York all the time, and maybe Chicago. But no, that wasn't the first thing that dropped in my mind. It was about the Mafia in Tampa, as well as organized crime of other sorts. And again, you don't hear about that in the middle school or junior high when I was going to school, and senior high classes. They never touched on that subject at all. And certainly the Mafia knows how to vertically and horizontally expand their company business. And that should be a great course.
Yeah, I agree. I never heard about it when I went through Pinellas County Schools, so.
Okay. And we have one more, Bob, back to me with politics and government. And you'll see the Electoral College. I wonder if that's on anybody's mind right now. Talk about impeccable timing for both of these courses with literally about a week to go. David Bush, who is an excellent lecturer, he has already given a few courses in political science and American history, and he is going to continue. He's actually got, this is, as you can see, one of several courses he's going to do in his American history series. And he is going to methodically go through eras of our US presidents, correlate what was going on in American history with what was going on in their administration. And so I have gotten to learn of David personally because of our work together on a subcommittee of the curriculum committee of OLLI at Eckerd that is dealing with increasing diversity in our curriculum and our presenters and our membership. And he is very knowledgeable. He's actively engaged in the community wherever he's been. He grew up in Brooklyn and was had a BS and a master's in political science and American history. And then he was an adjunct at Syracuse University teaching US history and political science there. And then he said, you know, I'm going to go and teach in high school in a small rural Western New York State area. And he did that until he moved down here to Florida and lives in St. Pete. He wrote a book, which I really like the title. It's called Teaching, A Journey of Trust and How I Became a Better Teacher. And his philosophy of teaching is spot on in my opinion, because it's partly what I think about, that teaching people. You teach a subject, but you're really teaching people. And that means it's a two-way conversation or conduit that's going on. You're imparting information, they're receiving that, but they're also asking questions and making you think as a teacher. And so there's a free exchange, a two-way trust is established, a verbal contract, if you will. And so between hearing him, working with him, and loving the subject matter and the timeliness of it, I can't imagine why OLLI members wouldn't want to hear more about the Electoral College merely a week before the election.
I agree. Yes, I've heard David speak and talk about his love of all of this. And I have to agree that this is so timely. And while I understand the function, I think it's a good idea for a lot of us to really be reminded of the purpose and structure. You know what I'm saying? Of really how this was put together and why this was put together and why it's so important right now in the outcome of our election. And
he might show the pros and cons of whether you should go to a popular vote or retain this. I mean, there was some very valid reasons. Right. I'd love to hear his current thinking on the pro and con of whether it should continue or not and how much it would entail if we did decide to even conjure up the Herculean task of getting rid of it.
Right, good.
All right, Bob, we are done with our spotlight.
Well, thank you, guys. Thanks, Karen and Michael. This was a fabulous overview of some very interesting courses. I think we'll move now to Bonnie, who'll tell us a little bit about social programs and some special programs. Bonnie?
Hello, everybody. By now, this is in the mail to everybody. I'm not sure you can see it, but it is the program sampler for fall 2. It's not all the classes and courses, but it's the rest of them you can find in on the online calendar, the OLLI online calendar. But the social events coming up, our OLLI Saturday Social is coming up this coming weekend at 10 a.m. It's always fun. It's always games and whatever else that the host wants to do. The Trivia Tuesday then is October 27th at 4:30. And as I like to say, you always come out smarter. Please join us. There's still room for that one. She is limited with the trivia. And then the next Sip and Share will be in November 4th. And we're picking a topic to talk about. The last one we talked about Zooming and how everybody felt about it. And it was really, really fun in the cons. I'm very excited to announce that the OLLI Dine-Arounds are coming back. These will be strictly outdoors, restaurants with outdoor seating. We will have masks on when we're not eating, and the tables, we will be socially distant at the tables. The first event, I'm really excited, Doc Ford's, the new restaurant at the St. Petersburg Pier. That's Wednesday, November 11th. I see my internet connection is unstable. I have my iPad ready, but let's see if I can finish. The one thing about Doc Ford's, the parking, which is right outside the restaurant, takes only credit cards. This is a new system and it works quite well. We are limited to 30 diners, and I'm hoping people will sign up for that. You have to sign up for it because we do have a max. And if you end up not being able to come or changing your mind, we'd like them to know. Okay, they're very, very excited because we have a whole page in this new little catalog. So all the social events for November, December are listed here. And I'm getting a question, the Saturday Social, these are all virtual. And you'll be instructed how to find the link. They're all, but in these cases, we do get to see each other. So it's almost as good as being together. But the Dine-Arounds will be our first chance at being able to physically get together, if not close, but at least together. So that's my news. Please join us for all of these. And I guess I'm through, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. So let's see. Here we go. So the Fall 2 program, we talked about the sampling. And the issue is we're going to have over 40 courses. And this is just a taste, but things change so quickly that timing-wise, it's a trade-off. We wanted to have the sampler out as early as we could, and we just have to make sure that people realize that we have 40 or more courses, not just the 15 that are in the sampler itself. And really, the idea is to check the updated schedules at the calendar page online, and they're up to date. And the source is also a very good resource to look at changes, alterations, and additions that come up. As far as sales of the All Access Pass, that was open on October 7th, so that's still available. Ending sales will be October 29th. For a la carte people that choose the a la carte type of registration, that opens on the, let's see, today's the 12th, I think it's the 15th or the 14th of October, and you'll be able to start buying those. And again, we have direct links to YouTube and Facebook from the eClassroom page. There's now just a little icon to click on, and it'll take you directly to YouTube, to the Eckerd OLLI YouTube page, and if you click on the Facebook, directly to Facebook also. So there's been improvements and enhancements to the page, and it's worthwhile going through it and seeing what's new and clicking on things and trying it out. It's always fun and instructive to do that. We have some pop-up courses. We talked last time about medical anthropology coming up. That's going to be 3 sessions starting on the 14th. And it's going to develop relationships between health and culture. If you're in China and you have a cold, it's going to be a lot different than if you're in Texas and have a cold. And it's getting into the cultural differences around the world. We also have a couple of other new courses that have been listed. Florida, the nation's largest swing state. And this is hosted by the Florida Humanities group. And that's going to be October 15th. And note the time starts at 6 to 7. And then with the recent death of Helen Reddy, Joy is putting on a program, Helen Reddy, A Life Rooted in Strength. And that's going to be October 23rd, 2 to 3:30. And it's always great to listen to Joy play the piano and sing and give us a lot of historical background of the composer, of the singers, of the entertainers. So, OLLI Live is just about done for today. And again, we ask you to tell your friends and family members about OLLI Live. It's free, okay? It doesn't cost anything. You can be a non-member. You can be a member and register for the course. This week, this session should be on YouTube probably later in the week, maybe in a couple days' time. And again, that's open to the public and it's open to anybody. If you've missed the programs in the past, those are on there also. And we'll just end with asking if there's any questions. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to?
May I make a comment?
Sure.
I wanted to let everybody know too that the social events we welcome guests, visitors. There is no charge for them. The dine arounds but the 3 virtual ones that we are running, you're welcome to bring a friend or recommend it to somebody as long as they sign up for it. Thank you.
And
Okay, thank you,
Bob, can you remind everybody again when the All Access Pass registration deadline is, so that anybody who's not done it yet and is thinking about it doesn't let that date come and go and they miss the deadline?
Sure. So it's October 29th. You got till October 29th to purchase the All Access Pass. And I tell you, I mean, I really enjoy the All Access Pass. It makes life a lot easier. And what I especially like about the pass is that if I decide to miss the course and go out and play golf or go shopping or work outside or whatever, I can always come back in and listen at my convenience, at my choice, to listen to the program. That, of course, there's a couple of restrictions there. Number one, the presenter has to agree to allow us to show that, okay, which is important. So anyways, yeah, October 29th.
What about the pop-ups?
The pop-ups will show up on 2 places. Number one, on the source. We try to get it into the source, but really it's a matter of looking at the calendar.
For the All Access Pass, I mean, if we get a pop-up during the semester and
They're
you have
included.
the All Access Pass, do you get
They're
the
included.
pop-ups also?
Most of them are included, yes.
Right.
I think they're all included. Last semester, some of the Westminster courses were not, but I think now they're all included. Is that right, Mary?
I believe they are.
Yes, that is correct.
So there's another
Okay,
great
thank you.
reason for everyone who's listening, another great reason to get the All Access Pass.
Right. Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending, and I hope it's been informative for you, and have a great day. Have a great Columbus Day. Okay. Thank you very much.
Cheerio.
Bye now.
Bye.